When Columbus's ships landed on the shores of the New World, the Native Americans felt as if something new had come from the sky. Sometimes they would see with wonder such huge ships, and sometimes two-legged and armed men like them wearing colorful clothes. It was all very new to them. They innocently boarded their ships. They began to share everything with the Columbus crew out of love. It took them a long time to realize that Columbus and his companions were the enemies of their freedom and lives. How did Columbus treat the New World and its innocent people? Why did Columbus think all of Marco Polo's stories were false? These scattered islands, ahead of the continental United States, and we call them the West Indies today. Among them is the island of San Salvador. On this historic island, Columbus's ships landed on October 12, 1492. San Salvador is a small island, 21 km long and 8 km wide. Native Americans called the island Guanahani. It was named after the iguana, a lizard-like animal that is now extinct from the island. The island was densely forested with salt lakes and small hills. Today, the island is part of the Bahamas and remains largely uninhabited. So in 1492, when Columbus's ships were reaching the coast, the inhabitants of the island saw them from afar and spread the news to others. The arrival of these alien guests caused a stir on the island. The people of the island began to gather to see these ships. Some of them jumped into the sea, and some even climbed onto the ships. Their faces were innocent, like children. They were reacting as if someone had descended from heaven to earth, because land these people knew did not have the concept of such big ships and such colorful dresses. The people of the island were used to living in modest thatched huts and wore only nominal clothing. They grew corn and ate it. Therefore, the sight of Columbus's ships was no less than a big spectacle for them. When Columbus arrived at the island in a boat, the people there welcomed him. However, Columbus spent some time on land and then returned to his ship, which was anchored some distance from the coast. After a few days, Columbus and his companions put boats into the sea and sailing along the coast of the island, moving towards its northern part. They would turn things over in the houses and look for gold. Native Americans were seeing the fate of their homes, but still did not understand what these people wanted. Rather, they constantly sang welcome to them. After a few days of brainstorming, Columbus was convinced that there was no gold except for a few earrings. So he decided to go further to Cipango, Japan. He captured some people from the island and forcibly imprisoned them on his ship. Columbus's aim was to teach them a little of their language and take them as guides. And with their help behind these small islands, as Marco Polo wrote, Cipango and China can be reached. Now, Cipango and China were not there. Columbus's guides had never even heard of Cipango and China. They understood from Columbus's words that he was talking about a very big island. And these guides knew the address of a big island anyway. So these people brought Columbus to a nearby large island. This was the place where the country of Cuba is today. All the way, Columbus thought that he was just about to reach Japan and Cipango. But when he reached Cuba on October 28th, there was no gold. He began to understand that perhaps he had reached Kada, i.e., China. Now he continued to explore the magnificent cities of China in Cuba, whose stories he had read in Marco Polo's travelogue, but soon it was proved that this area was not even China. That is, China had not even come to his mind. Now it was neither China nor Japan, and there were no gold bars here. There were gold earrings on people's noses and ears. Columbus was shocked to see all this and asked, God, what is this story? Did Marco Polo lie in his travelogues? That gold was gold here? On December 5th, Columbus, out of frustration, Columbus's ship sailing along the coast of Cuba had wind in the opposite direction. It took them to another island, 100 kilometers away from Cuba. This island was called Haiti by its inhabitants. On December 6th, Columbus reached this island. He named the island Hispaniola, which is still known today. Columbus's landing on Hispaniola began the destruction of the Native Americans, which today is called the American Holocaust by some historians. That is the genocide of the Native Americans. Hispaniola is the second largest island in the West Indies. Today, Two countries, the Dominican Republic and Haiti, exist on this island. The island had learned of the arrival of the strange visitors. Local people were standing along the beach, welcoming them and offering them food and drinks. They were even offering them the beautiful, colorful parrots of the island as a gift. Columbus and his companions gave them red hats and some bells. Native Americans marveled at the bell and were delighted to hear it ring. The atmosphere of the island was friendly, and the people were at Columbus's service. It was a very pretty sight. But Columbus's mind was seeing something else through this scene. He saw that the people of the island were very simple, who have neither clothes to wear, nor does the island have grand palaces or worship places, but some of them had put on earrings on their noses which appeared to be pure gold. Columbus began to realize that he was certain that he was somewhere near the island of Cipango, Japan, as Marco Polo said. Marco Polo had written that there was a small group of islands near Cipango, and Columbus had read that travelogue. Like other young Europeans of that time, but relying on the same travelogue, this western route up to Japan and China became his mainstay for the discovery. So Columbus spent here little time and planned to proceed, as he wanted to find and reach Cipango, i.e., Japan, as soon as possible. But before going to Cipango, he did one more thing. He tried to get as much gold as possible from the local people, and it was very easy to get gold from these people, because Columbus wrote in his diary all the people he saw on that island, namely San Salvador and the surrounding islands, were all naked, without clothes, and had no iron, steel, or any other weapons, nor did they know how to use such weapons. They were capable of killing a person. Columbus also writes that these people could be crushed with the help of only 50 men and persuaded to do whatever they wanted. These people were so innocent and generous about their possessions and positions that one cannot believe without seeing. There may be such people in the world. They would give you whatever you asked for. They would never say no. So, my friends, these people, ignorant of warfare and devoid of the current concept of ownership, were helpless before the wily Columbus and his crew. Columbus and his companions took advantage of their simplicity and broke into their homes to search for gold. When the Columbus arrived here, there was no division of countries on this island, and here people of the Arawak race lived, and their number was up to 800,000. These people also warmly welcomed Columbus and the rest of the islands. Here, Columbus felt as if he had either reached Cipango or some other island where a large amount of gold existed. Because of his religious background, he also thought that Hispaniola had any relation with this area, from where, as per the Bible, Solomon brought gold, diamonds, gems, and spices. Or this region can be a part of the kingdom, biblically called Sheba, the throne of whose queen was sought by Solomon. But Hazrat Solomon's kingdom was in Palestine, far away from Hispaniola. How did he get the idea of the kingdom of Sheba? Maybe Columbus believed that, outside the stories of the Bible, no unknown world exists. Based on the biblical stories, Columbus thought, Hispaniola must be rich in gold. He had a reason to believe it, that Columbus and his companions saw gold particles in the rivers of Hispaniola. On it, a chief of Hispaniola also presented Columbus with a mask made of gold. Columbus became impatient. He thought the locals knew about gold but were not telling him. Actually, there was not much gold on the island, and what was there? It was very little hidden in the sand of the rivers and streams. Interestingly, Hispaniola today is an island rich in minerals. Gold, silver, and copper deposits in Hispaniola's Haiti alone are estimated at the worth of $20 billion. But at that time, Columbus and the Native Americans did not know about it. They didn't have modern instruments to find minerals like today, therefore it was impossible to search and dig out large quantities of gold from there. Anyway, Columbus decided to go back to Spain and bring more troops, explore every nook and cranny of the island for gold. Then the Columbus crew also had some clashes with the local people. In a clash, Columbus's crewmen killed 2 natives. The killed ones had only faulted that they did not give the Europeans the bows and arrows as per their demand. But there were isolated incidents and no major clashes with the Native Americans. Columbus marked Hispaniola in his mind as the island where he thought gold must be found. So he thought to establish a base here before returning to Spain, so that his companions could search for gold in his absence. Columbus found this base on his ship. His ship had run aground off the coast of Santa Maria, Haiti. The companions of Columbus broke the ship and took out its planks and collected wood from the surroundings and built a small fort, which was named Fort Navidad. Here, Columbus stationed his 49 companions. Columbus gave them strict instructions to find gold and left for Spain on January 16, 1493. On his return, Columbus forcibly took with him some Native Americans as slaves. They were kept in such bad conditions that many enslaved Native Americans froze to death on the way. Besides slaves and spices, he took enough gold with him from Hispaniola that his opponents in Spain would not mock him and see him bringing gold as promised. Columbus arrived in Spain and announced that he had discovered a new route to Asia and that there was immense gold. The rulers of Spain believed Columbus's claims to be true. He was given the title of Admiral of the Sea because the rulers had promised to award him if he discovers the western route to Asia. Columbus has now become part of Spain's aristocracy. Celebrations and feasts for Columbus began everywhere, but he was also made fun of at these feasts. Why? Columbus, an adventurous explorer who discovered the New World, had killed 800,000 natives on just one island. Why? How did people in the New World face dangerous weapons with a small herb? What was the case against Columbus, and how did his last days go? All of this will be shown to you in the next episode of History of America. Subscribe our channel, like the video, and press the bell icon to get notified about our new videos.